2, 3, 4, 5, 6, lemonade, schlemiel, schlemazel, Haas and Pfeffer Incorporated.
No, really, guys.
I'm Bob.
I'm Barb. Together we make up
HetteshWorld.
So where are we at today, Bob?
We are in Milwaukee, the beer capital of the world.
And we are touring today.
Pabst Blue Ribbon, the history tour.
Yep, not the factory, so you're not going to see how beer is made. And we are excited, and we think you're going to like it, so stay tuned. We're Bob and Barb. We've lived by the rules all of our lives, but in 2020, we threw that rule book out the window. We sold our home and moved full-time into an RV with our cat Amelia, and from now on, we will be living life our way. Don't you want to come travel in our world? Taking the tour at the historic Pabst Brewery, and we are going to go check it out. So you enter into the gift shop, they will ID you, and then you wait. Cheers to you guys.
When at Pabst Blue Ribbon, you get a PBR.
Yep, you get the apple.
My name's Scott. I'm your tour guide today.
So you guys are in for a fun and very interesting tour today. To take this tour, you can buy the tickets online or you can buy them in the gift store. They are $12 a person plus tax, and there is a discount for military, veterans, or students. This is gonna not be your normal Pabst Blue Ribbon tour. It's not a tour about making beer and how it's done and all that kind of interesting stuff. This is actually gonna be a tour about Pabst beer history. With the cost of your ticket, it does include a free beer of your choice from the bar that's in the room here, and a souvenir glass. So that's a pretty good deal then. So starting off on today's tour, it's a beer history tour. You're going to spend about half an hour in this room here with Scott explaining and showing you some things and making you laugh. And then the rest of the tour is going through the buildings that they still have access and own. In its heyday, Pabst Blue Ribbon was the #1 brewery in the country. At one time, there was 5,000 employees that worked here, 3 shifts, 5 days a week. It was almost like a city within a city. They were paid very well to work here, and the union stipulated into the contract that they had to have beer breaks every 3 hours at 3, 6, 9, and 12 a.m. and p.m. And that stayed in the union contract until 1983.
But yeah, the paintings, they were all done by this guy right here, Edgar Miller. This style of painting is called fresco, painting on wet plaster. That's the same thing they did in the Sistine Chapel. We like to call this room the Sistine Chapel of beer right here. This is how you make beer. At the very far end on the top there, you got grain elevators, malt house, drying kilns, mixing tanks. The grains are mixed together. Add the water right there in the brew kettles. That's where they boil it for 28 minutes. Comes out of there, they hop it up, they cool it down, cold water becomes, yeast goes in it, goes into the fermentation tanks. That's where it starts turning into beer. The yeast eats the sugars and the malted water turns the sugars into alcohol. After fermentation, it goes to storage, primary, secondary, finished beer bottling line, building next door, ending right there with Pabst, getting to almost parts of the world by planes, boats, and trains. That's our typical brewery tour right there. That's how they make beer. It was Jacob Best, his wife Ava, his 4 sons, 2 daughters. They immigrated here from Mettenheim, Germany, bringing brewing equipment with them, and they started a brewery across the street in 1844, him and his 4 boys.
I'm going to back up a little bit here just to kind of give you some more details. Jacob Best did come here from Germany with his family. Eventually, some of the sons left the family business to start their own brewery, which they had called Plank Road Brewery, and eventually became known as Miller Brewing Company when it was purchased by Frederick Miller.
So yeah, what became the Miller Brewery? And what became the Pabst Brewery was all started by the Best family. Now you all know why we call this the best place.
So I know you guys are asking, when is it going to become Pabst Brewing Company? Jacob Best retired in 1853, and his son, Phil, which was the only son that didn't leave the business, ran the business going forward, calling it Philip's Best Brewing Company. He had an eldest daughter named Maria, and she met Frederick Pabst in 1860 and married him 2 years later. In 1864, Pabst purchased half interest in the brewing company. He became the vice president. Philip's other daughter, when she married, her husband also became a member of the company. Philip Best died in 1869.
They finally decided to change the name of the brewery to the Pabst Brewing Company. When they changed the name of the brewery, they changed the name to Pabst, but they left the B in the middle of the logo. So what's the B for? Best. Yeah, they wanted to remember their legacy. Now they had a beer competition at the World's Fair, they always do. In fact, won first place. They won a gold medal in 1890. Everybody started calling it Pabst Blue Ribbon, so they finally changed the name in 1895. Kind of cool stuff, actually. Prohibition, I don't get it. We lost 90% of our breweries to this kind of stupid experiment.
The company came up with some creative ways to keep the business going.
See in the middle there, a concentrated liquid extract of molten hops. Huh, what does that sound like? Sounds like beer to me.
One of Frederick's sons, Frederick Pabst Jr., left the brewery company and started his own dairy and farm. He was known throughout the country for top breeding programs, best land management practices, and self-sufficient dairy operations. Now, he stayed away from the company until Prohibition hit, and then he did go back to help with the brewery, but more in a dairy sense. He wanted to keep the company afloat as a cheese manufacturer. They had all this stuff, but they weren't able to really use it to make beer like they were supposed to be making beer. So they were making cheese. Once it was allowed to reopen, Kraft took over the cheese company. So that's kind of interesting too. All the different companies that Best and Pabst created just based on the fact that they came here to America. There have been many brands that have fallen under the Pabst Blue Ribbon label over the years, starting with Pabst Blue Ribbon and Jacob Best, including Valentine, Schlitz, Blatz, Old Milwaukee, Colt 45, St. Ives, Stroh's, Old Style, Lone Star, Olympia, Rainier Beer, Schmidt Beer, National Bohemian, Anneker, and Red, White, and Blue. It's pretty interesting, all the ones that have come and gone over the years. Comment below what might be ones that you used to drink or ones that you still drink and love today.
But they didn't need all these breweries all over the country, they consolidated. They sold a lot of them off. And but they also inherited all these employees. They consolidated their workforce, their employees. They downsized responsibly. What they did is a lot of early retirement packages for the oldest, longest tenured employees. They got to retire early, full pension benefits, and employee price beer for life. And this was such a well-run company and brewery. They had virtually no debt here at Pabst. They had an overfunded pension plan. That sounds like a good thing, right? In the 1980s, was that a good thing? Not so much. Why? Because the government took away things that protected people's jobs, pension, and benefits. They made it legal in this country to buy a company and liquidate it. You can make a fortune doing it if you're ruthless. And Pabst was right for a takeover where that would happen. They fought off these takeover bids successfully for a couple of years, actually, until this tool comes along. Paul Kalmanovitz, Paul the Liquidator was his nickname. He takes over Pabst 85 in a hostile takeover with the intention of doing just that. And when he's done squeezing everything out of this place and selling off all the equipment, Kalmanovitz wanted to tear the buildings down and put up high-rise condos. Now the city of Milwaukee, when they heard who bought it and what he wanted to do, tear them down, the city didn't want to see the buildings disappear, so that's when they added them all to the National Historic Register. He passed away in 87. Kalmanovitz Charitable Trust out of Mill Valley outside of San Francisco, California. The charitable trust that now owns Pabst did the same thing, and they finally shut her down December 31st of 96. The last 250 employees left here were given 20 minutes to get their personal things and get out. Once they had the last 250 out, they walked away, locked the doors, and put a fence around the entire brewery. They did everything else here. Paperwork, tables, chairs. It was like everybody had vanished. And that brings me up to the bittersweet thing about doing these tours. I get a lot of old Pabst employees that come back here. You know, people that worked there for the very last day of 96 even, I see grown men get teary-eyed, tell you how great it was to work here back in the heyday.
Pabst Blue Ribbon's story is the story of an amazing company that started with immigrants coming here and growing into something incredible and magnificent and providing jobs and community and culture and iconic, to story of takeovers and corporate domination and destruction and the loss of jobs. It is a heroic and sad story all at the same time.
And what we're doing, we're not forgetting the dark days, but we're not forgetting all good here.
Oh my God.
You can close the door if you want, you can take pictures if you want, and then when you're done checking it out, come on out this way. Lock them up, and then come on out this way.
What's this?
The drunk uncle's room?
The drunk uncle's cage. But besides birthday parties, we do a lot of things in this room as well. Corporate parties, holiday parties, funerals, weddings.
So what happened to all of the big Pabst Blue Ribbon buildings that are in the city of Milwaukee? The majority of them were taken over, renovated, and made into other businesses. What is left is the corporate offices here. So in 2014, this one was taken over, and they put $1 million into it doing renovations, which included the roof, the AC, working plumbing, but they pretty much have left the rest of it the way it was left when it was abandoned in 1996.
One room was medical records, one was the HVAC room was HR paperwork, the left room was marketing stuff. They left all that stuff here when they shut down.
Wow.
Yeah. Apparently HIPAA didn't mean anything. They left the medical records here. The middle part of the floor here, that's our stamp on this building when we did this renovation. That's why it says best place. There was not a best place until 2010. And 2014 is when we finished this room. And there's actually 14 different logos all over the world in that logo. Custom made. And actually that part of the floor costs more than all the rest too. But pretty cool stuff.
They always close the PAP part of the talking tour with the Patrick Swayze Disco Pabst Blue Ribbon commercial. So I'm going to show you the commercial without the sound, so I'm able to play it on YouTube for you, but it is fun and cute. Think of the Pabst Blue Ribbon history tour.
I thought it was awesome.
He was able to take us back and visually make us feel the history of how it was completely started all the way up to today, allowing us to feel the growth and the pain and the struggle that the company went through over time. So what beer did you have again at the tour, Bob?
I had the old regular Pabst Blue Ribbon.
Because that's what you got to have, and that's what my dad used to drink when I was a kid. They gave me kind of an apple cider beer, which was pretty yummy, and it was pretty sweet. And yes, I drank mine before Bob's because mine was sweet. We hope that you enjoyed this video. We had an amazing time on it. Please give us a thumbs up. Please like it. Please smash up that notification bell.
Give us your comments. Let us know your favorite places you'd like to visit, because we always like to add to our list.
So remember, we're HetteshWorld.
Come travel in our world.
Bye!